Please welcome Tony, Grammy, and Emmy Award winner Audra McDonald and the much lauded DeMane Davis.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Great, how are you?
I'm wonderful, thank you.
You smell incredible.
I thought I'd bathe just for this one event.
I appreciate it. I've been told I have to put a timer down. So,
okay.
I don't know, I got that email, so putting the timer down. Thank you so much for being here. Okay.
It's an honor to be talking to you.
It's an honor to meet you. All right, I'm gonna stop gushing and be serious. You have incredible range. I think there are people who probably don't realize they've been listening and watching your work, meaning the same artist who sings in musicals and operas like Porgy and Bess, my favorite, Ragtime and Carousel, is the same singer who performed with both the New York and Berlin Philharmonic Orchestras, who's also the actor from Private Practice and The Good Fight, who happens to be a recording artist who can sing karaoke with James Corden on Carpool Karaoke. That's all you. How do you select projects and opportunities, and just how large is your vision board?
You know, I think I was blessed with a family who told me growing up that I could do anything as long as I worked hard and got an education. And I was a hyperactive kid. And so my vision board is just whatever I can dream up. Basically, I don't say no to myself. I don't say no to anything that excites me, that I'm passionate about, and things that scare me, especially. Things that scare me are things that I kind of run towards because I know that there's a lesson to be learned there. Even if it means that I fail in attempting it, I will have learned something.
That's wonderful. Thank you. You obviously know ABCD's mission to provide people with the resources they need to gain stability and success.
Yeah.
Your personal commitment to supporting the underserved, fighting against racism, and for social justice, for being an advocate for homelessness, at-risk youth, and the LGBTQIA community is unparalleled. Why does giving back matter to you?
I always think about, do you guys remember, maybe it was during I can't remember, it was during the last election season when Michelle Obama spoke, and she said, when you walk through the door of opportunity, you don't slam the door behind you. You reach back through and help the next person through that door. And that, I believe deeply about that, and obviously, I am, and you are, and a lot of us in this room are the beneficiaries of people who spoke up, who spoke out against social injustice, who marched and all of those things, and I just feel that you have to give back, and it's what I'm trying to teach my children. I'm very passionate, especially in dealing with homeless youth. I'm on the board of directors at the Covenant House, which houses homeless youth in 31 cities, 3 different continents. We're in Canada, we're in the United States, we're in South America, and you know, we are taking care of kids who've aged out of the foster care system, kids that have been human trafficked, a lot of LGBTQIA kids who have come out to their families and been kicked out of their homes, young mothers with babies that have no place to go, and we give them not only a shelter, but we give them medical, we take care of their medical needs, we do what we can to help with job search, with education, whatever they need. 2 of our kids that are in the Covenant House, that were former members of the Covenant House, were on Broadway last year. Yeah, isn't that amazing? And a lot of the kids that have come through the Covenant House over the many years, the many decades that the Covenant House has existed, have gone on to become parents, grandparents, business owners, and then they come back and give back to the Covenant House. I just feel maybe it's because I'm a mother, and I just feel like every child should be given a chance. And if no one is out there to love that child, then I want to do what I can to be out there to love and take care of and nurture these children. So that's why.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. You mentioned when you were young, you emulated Ella Fitzgerald and Judy Garland, and among other singers, and you said there was a moment where you realized those singers didn't sound like anyone else, and that's what you needed to do. Where do you think this strength, your strength, to simply be yourself came from?
My family, most definitely, and falling on my face enough, trying to sound like and be like other people. And I remember when I was young, my mother would say, stop, there was this one girl that, I can say her name because she's from Preston. You don't know her, but this girl named Elisa Sagardia who was just really popular. And I remember I kept trying to smile like her, and I would try and straighten out my hair like her, and have bangs and feather my hair like she did. And my mom would say, why are you trying to do that? Elisa is fine, that's great, but you're you. You need to celebrate what's beautiful about you. And that's what's special to the world. That's what the world needs. We have an Elisa, we need an Audra. And she used to always sort of bang that into my head. And I think because of that, I have sort of grown up with that sort of knowledge that be you, be the best you that you can possibly be, but be you, because that's what the world needs.
Do you know where Lisa is now? And Lisa's here, everyone. Sorry. Sorry.
She's probably somewhere.
There,
She's a wonderful person.
She's gonna walk in. She's gonna walk in. We're gonna rate her smile. It's not as good. I'm telling you right now. Lisa's smile is not as good as this one right here. You credit your parents and your mom, especially with being instrumental in their encouragement of your career and early choices, just as you discussed. This is kind of a selfish question, because I had a friend who said this to me. Might you have any advice for someone who may not be getting that encouragement that they need from a family member or someone who's close to them, where you expect to get it?
I mean, it's, I can give advice and know that sometimes advice isn't enough. But the cliche sayings that we hear I think are fundamentally true. Things like, it gets better, because it does. And the other one for me is, do not say no to yourself. That is the most important person that you need to take care of, and you need to respect, and you need to love, is yourself. Because to quote RuPaul, if you can't love yourself, how are you going to love somebody else? But it's so true. And find your tribe. That's the other thing I would say. You can create your family, create people that are like-minded. And a lot of people that I have met and learned to love and found that I had a lot of affinity for were in doing things like community service, going out and serving the community and serving the underserved, and meeting other people who were there doing the same thing, or even people that were underserved there. I mean, find your tribe and find it through love and through giving, and that way you will learn the self-love that you need, I think. I mean, I'm not Gandhi, but that's how it works for me.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Thank you. Well, Gandhi couldn't sing, so
well, we
know of. Well, we don't know.
We don't know.
Maybe you're right. You're right. Maybe
you can direct the biopic, and maybe he does in that.
Okay, yeah.
How about
all
that?
right. Will you be in it? Okay, great. Everybody
Gandhi's
heard that, right?
Audra.
She's gonna be in the biopic I'm directing. Okay. You mentioned the darkness that came over you while you were at school at Juilliard, realizing the program was more classical than you had anticipated, and feeling depressed. And first, I want to thank you for speaking about depression so candidly and publicly. It's something that I suffered from, and I feel like talking about it is a huge way.
It's very important, and sometimes it's not talked about enough, especially within our particular community, within the African American community. Sometimes I think it's not spoken about enough, and there's sort of maybe a bit of a stigma attached to it, or just saying, "Oh, you'll be okay. You're going to be all right." No, it's there. It's real, and the more you talk about it, the less alone you feel.
Yes, totally agree. Can you share? Yes, that's applause for that. Are there any tools that you recall that stood out that you might be able to share with us that's brought you out of the darkness and into the light?
Well, I reached out for help. I got to a very, very low point. I am not shy about sharing this. I tried to kill myself when I was in college, and I immediately, after my attempt, reached out for help and just admitted that I needed help. Instead of hiding it and pretending that I had to be perfect, I admitted that I needed help and just threw my hands out. And people were there to catch me. And I think if I had stayed quiet about it, I would have tried again and I would have succeeded. But in that moment, I realized, you know, I need help. And I don't even know if it's just to get me through the next 5 minutes, but I know that I need help. So I threw my hands out. And the interesting thing is I was taken to a mental hospital where I stayed for a month. And this is when I was 19. And I'm now 49 years old. And 3 years ago, I found myself surprisingly pregnant at 46. My husband and I were very shocked, but thrilled. But that's certainly what we weren't expecting that. But long story short, my OBGYN's office where I had to go every week because I was in geriatric pregnancy. They literally put that on your thing, geriatric.
That's rude.
Thank you. Was next door to the mental hospital that I had been in. And so as I would walk, I would waddle by it. And I would think, wow, I wish I could tell that scared, frightened, depressed young lady that she's about to have a spectacular life and to hold on, because it not only gets better, it got better. And now, you know, that thing is 3 years old running around tearing up the house, so, you know.
Thank you. Thank you for asking for help and hanging in there. I love opera. I love Kirite Kanawa and Kathleen Battle.
Oh, yes.
And I would get stares when I played it in the hood in Roxbury. People were like, what's this? What's going on? Yeah. Once you began to sing classically and ultimately knew it was something you could do beautifully, as you did in Masterclass, did you face opposition from those who couldn't see a person of color in that role? Like, colorblind casting is wonderful for all of us, but how did it feel for you personally early on?
You know, I think once again that was something that was instilled in me from my parents from a very young age. I remember when I was really little and I was in Fresno, California, where I grew up, and there was a dinner theater there, and I was performing there with this little Mickey Mouse Club troupe, and one of the shows that they did was The Miracle Worker, and there was this sort of like Negro girl in it who was supposed to be kind of, she wasn't a slave, but she was a house worker, you know, a domestic, and I wanted to audition for it, and my parents said, absolutely not. There are other roles that you can play, roles that have more dignity, and roles that you are right for. Do not lower yourself to that. Wow. And I think being instilled with that from such a young age made me realize that any role that I felt that I was right for, I should go out for, even if the rest of the world didn't think so. And that means things like Carrie Pipperidge in Carousel, or anything that I've tried to do, or singing, you know, operatically. Although in some cases the opera world can be more colorblind than other worlds, because if you don't sing it, if you can't sing it, you can't play the role. So first and foremost is, can you sing it? But I've just never said no to myself. There are plenty, and I say this to students when I do master classes all over the country, there are plenty of people in the world that are going to say no to you. Don't you be one of them. Don't you ever be one of them. Always say yes to yourself. So that's why colorblind casting to me, it's not about me. I don't, you know, whatever they think, that's their business. I'm going to go out for the role. If you don't cast me, that's on you.
I love it. I love it. My first introduction to Billie Holiday was the movie Lady Sings the Blues.
Yes.
Starring Diana Ross. Yeah. And when I bought Billie Holiday's original recordings, I was surprised at the rawness of her voice. And if I close my eyes, I truly cannot distinguish between her voice and your voice in Lady Day at Emerson's Bar and Grill. Like, that's just magical.
Thank you.
It seems like you being first soprano, to sing like her would hurt, not only emotionally, but just the graveliness of that instrument. How did you achieve that without damaging your psyche or your voice?
It was hard not to damage my psyche doing that show 8 times a week or 7 times a week. It's, you know, an hour and 45 minutes of just me up there being Billie Holiday in the last 4 months of her life, very drunk, very ill, trying to quit heroin. all of those things that were happening to her in her life. But I also knew at the same time, her life is a story that is worth telling, and she went through a lot, and so I wanted to. So for me, I opened myself up to how painful it was because she deserved that. You know, she deserved to. For me, you would say to myself, look, you can live through this for an hour and 45 minutes. She had to live through this for 44 years. You can live through it for an hour, 45 minutes to, you know, illuminate her story. But how I found her voice, her singing voice, is I was studying and listening to all these recordings of her, not only just the popular recordings we all know, but the recordings of her talking with her band or in interviews she did with people like Mike Wallace and all these people trying to get her voice. And I was so frustrated. And then one day I remembered, you know what? I used to make fun of the way my grandmother would talk to my grandmother, and I would get my face slapped for it from time to time. But I would make fun of the way she talked, and I realized Billie Holiday talks like my Nana. And so I started to speak like I thought my Nana spoke, and that's how I found Billie Holiday's voice. And then once I found her speaking voice, I was able to find her singing voice. But it was all through realizing that I had spent so much time as a kid imitating my grandmother and how close they sounded. So that's how I found it. So it's my Nana who helped me find Billie.
I love that connection. That's fantastic. When it's all coming together, when you're hitting the notes and the lines and you're embodying the character, do you know that you're doing it? What is that like? What does that synchronicity feel like? Like, what is that like? Like I asked, I had the honor of working with Viola Davis and How to Get Away with Murder.
I went to school with Viola
and
Davis.
You did?
Yeah,
oh,
yeah. We've known each other a long time.
Yeah, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. She was amazing then, too. She was amazing then.
She's so dope.
Yeah.
And I said, like, what is it? Because I'm very curious about that, because I know what it feels like to me. I'm like, what does that feel like? And she's like, I don't ever watch myself. Oh, okay. Like, but what is that feeling like? Is it like out of body? Is it like?
You know, I saw a quote of Beverly Sills, the great opera singer who passed away some years ago. She said, I'm paraphrasing, but she said, I think I've only sung perfectly in public about 6 times in my entire career. The rest of the times, I just did my best. Wow. And so that moment you're talking about is very fleeting and has happened very few times for me. But the few times that I have felt it, it has felt like time, there is no time. Time just kind of stands still and you're kind of floating away a little bit. But it's only happened like 2 or 3 times in my 25-year career. So, I mean, that's it. It probably won't ever happen again.
I think it'll happen here for all of us tonight. We'll all feel it. Pretty sure I could say that, but okay. You've thanked Lena Horne and the late Diane Carroll, as well as other black female actors, when you received a Tony Award, saying you stand on their shoulders. I personally believe the casting of a black woman in a role that's been perceived to be for a white actor is a radical act. Can you talk about what this has meant to you and what we, as audience members and fellow artists, can do to encourage productions that are more diverse?
Well, I feel a responsibility in the way that I know that my predecessors felt a responsibility to not only do well, but to push the envelope, to continue to be seen, continue to demand to be seen, to demand to be heard, to demand to be appreciated and celebrated in the way that perhaps, you know, their white counterparts were. And so for me, and I think the radical act is continuing to succeed. So for me, little girls of color can see me and say, oh, she can do it, so I can do it. In the way that I was able to look to Lena Horne and look to Diane Carroll and Jesse Norman, our great Jesse Norman, who we just lost, who all of these, I hate that we're losing these incredible legends, these lights. But I was able to look to them and say, they did it, so I can do it. And to realize for those who are in power that can, you know, that do have the money to produce these shows and to hire people, to realize the audience will be there. The audience will be there. If you build it, they will come. And they want to come, and they want to be there, but they want to see themselves up there, too.
True.
Yeah.
Believe it. In order to create the musical Shuffle Along, or the making of the musical sensation of 1921, which was originally written, directed by, and starred African Americans in 1921, you began to tap dance again. You seem to have an everlasting sense of curiosity and engagement. What might we need to hear to commit to staying open, to learn, and to grow?
Evolution. It's all about evolution, evolution of the mind, the body, the spirit, the soul. I want to be a better actor tomorrow than I am today. I want to be a better singer tomorrow than I am today. I want to be a better mother tomorrow than I am today. I want to be a better person, a better citizen of the world tomorrow than I am today. And so for that evolution to occur, you have to be open to challenges and to learning new things and to putting yourself out there. And even if it means falling flat on your face, which, you know, especially when you're tap dancing at 46 while pregnant, while being geriatrically pregnant, I'm going to learn something from that, you know? I'm going to learn something. And then once again, maybe somebody else sitting in the audience can go, hey, that old lady can do it. I can do it too.
No one's going to call you an old lady. Okay. Do you have any mantras or sayings that get you through your day or a particular project? I love the never say no to yourself. I love how you said when you go to an audition, you say, I am the solution to your problems.
Yeah, that's what I try and tell my students. You go into your audition and think, I am the solution to your problem. That way you're not giving the people you're auditioning for your power. You're saying, hey, here I am. I'm going to solve this for you. It's a very positive way of going into an audition. I think the thing that I mainly say to myself every day is breathe. You don't have to be perfect, and be grateful. Those are the things
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. Does someone write all this down? Because usually I'd be out there and I'd be taking notes. So Taylor, you're writing all this down, right? Because I'm gonna need, I need all this later. Great. Thank you for your roles on stage, screen, and film.
Thank you.
For manifesting this incredible life and being a beautiful example of perseverance and artistry in the process. And please know that I, along with everyone in this room, is grateful for this time that you've taken here today, and we'll be supporting and applauding and singing along with you, though not as well,
Sure.
and celebrating all your work to come. Thank you so much,
Thank
Audra.
you. What a joy to speak with you.
Such a pleasure.
Thank you.